Frontier Opening Bell, Wednesday, the 12th of October. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the program. I am Boason Omofaye, and this is how we're getting the third day of the week off the ground, second day for a number of markets on the African continent. The Nigerian market came back after Monday Muslim holiday with 0.45% on the back of Boa Cement, gaining roughly 3% on the counter. We've got a couple of other news across the markets. The BRVM Composite Index sunk to 200 reading yesterday. That's the 0.39% for the biggest French-speaking exchange on the African continent that's based in Côte d'Ivoire. The EGX down by 0.82%. The Nairobi Bourse, however, jumped 2.2%, and give that to President Ruko. Yesterday, he flagged off the NYSE marketplace in Nairobi, and the stock market loved Mr. President's visit and his message to the market that there will be more listings on the NGX. A couple had already been approved, so the stock market took that on its stride, 126.13, when the composite index or the Ocean Index finished in Nairobi. A very big day there, giving up what they call the protocol presidential jump. Then you've got the South African market, the GSE, down by 0.28%, biggest exchange on the African continent. But let's get a couple of news from the GSE, by the way. I will talk about that in just a second. First, let's touch with East Africa, where President William Ruto, yesterday announced that Credit Bank and the Boy Foods have gotten the clearance to be listed on the Nairobi Bourse, and says there will be at least 4 other listings that will be coming through in due course. President William Ruto is visiting the Nairobi Bourse just a few weeks after he came into office. His predecessor, President Ruko, never visited the stock market throughout his 2 terms in office. And the Central Bank of Kenya has confirmed that Airtel Kenya has de-linked, successfully separated its mobile money business, which is now Airtel Kenya Mobile Money Limited, from the telecommunications business. That has now been concluded. There are 2 separate institutions now operating in Kenya, the mobile money and the telecommunications business. Of course, you heard about the talks that Safaricom will also de-link its M-Pesa sometime in 2023. Burundi says it's eased the curbs on foreign currency and allow currency transactions and repatriations to be a little bit more easier, while Ethiopia says $13 million was what the country was able to make from power exports to Sudan as well as Djibouti, 2 countries, one in Horn of Africa, the other in the Sahel region. And foreign investors can now take up to 30% equity in Ethiopian banks. That's part of opening up the financial services sector under Prime Minister Abiy. The banking sector in Ethiopia had been trudging on very strongly despite the problem in the Tigray region and a few other issues. The financial market reform under Prime Minister Abiy is costing home. That takes me to West Africa, where the Geregu Power PLC, which was listed a few days ago, about a week ago on the Nigerian Exchange Limited, reported earnings for 2021, saying it's about 70.9 billion in revenue. Net profits came in about 20.5 billion naira. Total assets at the end of last year, around 115 billion in local currency. That is expected to move the shares of the only listed power generation company on the NGX. In the meantime, bigger news from Washington. The IMF cuts global growth forecast downward yesterday. Talked about inflation expectations as well. The second report we got yesterday, aside from the World Economic Outlook, was the global financial stability, that the risks are rising to the global financial system, and central banks need to do something very quickly to tame inflation and slow down on interest rate hikes. In the meantime, the fund supported by Serena Williams and a couple of others have put $3.3 million together for Nigerian-based TS business, which is involved in data and information provision. So they're going to expand the fund into expanding their frontiers across the African continent and deepening the level of data, reports, and information that are available in terms of investment across the continent. And Central Bank of Nigeria today will roll in over about 190 billion naira in treasury bills. The primary market auction for the week takes place today by the central bank. Take a quick look at the rest of the market for Southern Africa, where Signia Investments yesterday rolled out additional exchange-traded funds that is backed of sustainable energy, what you call clean energy. That brings the total of such ETFs on the GSE to about 74, with a total market cap of about 114 billion rand. The biggest story, however, is that deal between the New York Stock Exchange and the GSE, which was announced yesterday for a cross-listing between the two exchanges, the biggest exchange on the African continent, and of course the world's number one exchange, the NYSE. That deal brings a whole lot to the table, not only for the South African Stock Exchange, the GSE, but also for entire Frontier Africa. Congratulations, folks, for making that deal happen. Zimbabwe says the deal with Belarus is shifting to agriculture and mining. That is the latest news from Zimbabwe. But of course, the country has banned imports of Tiger brand baby powder products because of issues in terms of whether there's an amount of asbestos that are contained in those baby powder products that are imported by from Tiger brands. That is now being put on hold. Some investigations and clinical investigations are ongoing on that. That's the story. Let's get into other news across the continent with Egypt. Food shortages rising and food prices up in Tunisia, but the the G20 announcing that they will do everything possible to put all the tools they have in the fire to tackle food insecurity. That's part of the story. It's coming from the IMF, World Bank IMF Summit currently going on, the annual meetings for 2022 in Washington, which will continue up until the weekend. Nigeria's West Africa and Morocco's gas pipeline, which will come through Nigeria to West Africa all the way to Morocco, up into Italy and Spain, will be about $25 billion investment. The first set of investments into that project is expected next year. The first phase, according to Nigeria's officials, will take about 3 years, and the rest will take about 5 years as Egypt begins to source for additional sources of gas because of the war, Russia's war in Ukraine. And finally, the Egyptian government has denied that the authorities are selling the country's seaports or port facilities to foreign interests. According to a government statement, says those news are incorrect and they were in bad faith, that port authorities remain in the pockets of the Egyptian government and they are not being sold to foreign business and investment interests. And that's your Frontier opening bell this Wednesday. Have a great day, everyone. Remember to go to our YouTube page to watch this show as well as our other shows. Go on our website as well. And of course, you can visit all our social media handles. Have a great day, everyone, and goodbye for now.